wonder if the IMDb cast list
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Because that
is different than where I pulled the API
is.
from. Is it?
yes,
Oh,
because
There's Martin.
there was a day.
It's so funny how it's
What
always...
was it, 1999? Getting a phone call? Interference?
I'm not convinced it actually shows up on here
What, we hear it, but it's
Yeah.
not.
because I've never heard it. But I mean, that's because he cuts
All right,
it out.
Jelani, I'm going to make a note for you to look around 8:45.
Can you hear cell phone static crackle?
Be good to know.
Welcome to our Film Fathers podcast, the definitive podcast about fatherhood, film, and fatherhood in film. This is Jelani, and with me as always are a guy who's a jellyfish version of his brother, and a guy wearing a toe tag real quick, Martin and Brady.
He said that wherever I went, he would find me, walk right up to me, and I wouldn't be able to see him.
People get taken from you like that. It's not hard to die. It's the easiest thing in the world. And you're all inches away from it.
This week, we're tiptoeing through fog-drenched labs, and we're howling at the moon as we revisit two legends from the Universal Monster Vault, The Invisible Man and Wolfman. One is a tale of scientific ambition spiraling into madness, while the other is a tragic story of fate and transformation. With Lee Whannell bringing his vision to these classics, are there more to come in this universe, or have we seen enough?
I liked one of these movies.
I liked one more than the other for sure.
I also
Wait, who is that
liked-
voice?
He was not introduced.
The fourth member of the pod.
The Invisible Man is here?
He's here. I also liked one of these movies more than the other. But Tom, since you are our resident horror master, what do you think there are going to be more? Because I have a theory as well.
I think so.
And what do you know and what are you speculating?
I don't know if there's supposed to be any more.
The hell you say?
But I didn't realize until reading some of the trivia on this that these were originally obviously supposed to follow the Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
the Mummy, and they were
Yeah.
going to build this whole interconnected world.
Wasn't there also the Frankenstein one with McAvoy? Like Victor Frankenstein?
But I don't think that was part
that
of
not
that.
part of it?
I don't think so.
I know they were trying to do that whole reboot,
It
right?
basically
Yeah.
went the way of the DC.
Right, because the Mummy didn't do very well.
DCEU, yeah.
Yeah, so
the Mummy was rough, apparently. I did not see it.
I did, but obviously I don't remember anything. But they instead went this route and made lower budget, not these big blockbusters with Tom
Right.
Cruise and stuff, and tried to focus on individual stories instead of this shared universe or whatever. So I
it
think
makes more sense that way, right?
yeah, I don't think there needs to be a shared universe. Like, I don't know, would it be weird if the Invisible Man, the creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, and all lived in the same world outside of Monster Squad?
That's all I was thinking as you were saying it.
Kick Wolfman in the nards.
Wolfman's got nards?
And we did that, and that was great.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, and I guess done right in that sense, it could be fine. But I don't think that's. I guess I don't know what they were going for, and I guess we'll never know. But I do think as standalone movies, since they're probably fairly cheap to make, and in comparison to other things, that they'll probably just keep doing them.
Yeah, I would like to see a Mummy version that's not Brendan Fraser, not Tom
Right,
Cruise,
more
not
grounded in
huge.
reality.
Yeah.
Like this.
That's where I'm at with it. So I think, and kind of the intro, I think Lee Whannell, or however we pronounce his last name, I think I would appreciate more of that, what I would hope would be his vision of it, as opposed to this action blockbuster type movie, because I think that's where it has been proven is not maybe where this needs to live.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some talent. He's a good
For sure.
writer director. I think he knows how to take these stories and find like the human element of it, and that's what makes a horror movie, I think, better than. He did Upgrade too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
think he
did that one
directed
with Charlie.
The Conjuring.
Oh, The Conjuring, the Saw
And The Conjuring,
movies
yeah.
he's been a part of.
He's all
him and
kind of
James
all over
Wan
there.
did
So,
the Saw,
so yeah, I just think he knows how to tell a good story. That's why I kind of wonder what happened with the Wolfman. I don't know. It should have been better. We'll get there.
Yeah,
but
we'll get there.
Are we going to maybe we should knock that one out so we can talk about the better one.
sure, it's the
later.
new one. So let's start with Wolfman.
Did you hate it?
No, I didn't hate it. That's what I'm saying. Like there's still elements of it that I like, and there are again the human element of it, and I could see where they were going with it. It felt like they were just like rushed or something or cut short. That's how I felt going into it. Like the big reveal or whatever. Like I called.
Yeah,
I knew
it was pretty obvious.
I felt like that was always pretty clear.
Yeah.
From
right
throughout, and so
it wasn't just me.
But maybe to that point that it was obvious to everyone, it wasn't supposed to be like a shock factor as much as it was like
But
everyone's probably going to figure this out. But
yeah, but he's good at that, the shock factor stuff. Like they
Yeah.
had a couple twists in Invisible Man or like an upgrade that were good and surprising. So I just thought they were. I was expecting too much, and maybe that's.
I just
part
feel
of
like
the
it was
problem.
so obvious that it wasn't. They weren't attempting it to be a secret. Is how I would
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
But then that's why I was almost expecting like another twist, but there wasn't, and it was just I don't know. It just was dull. How many deaths were there? Not many.
No, the guy at the beginning,
Multiple.
in
Two.
the truck, and
And the dad wolf,
What guy at the beginning?
the guy that was
the
in the
truck.
blind.
Yeah, they got in the truck with them to drive up the driveway.
Oh, that's okay. Well, that's not the
the only
beginning.
one.
I would have argued the beginning
sorry.
was when they
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
I was like, wait, there was a talked about death,
yes,
but
or
there
someone
wasn't-
that one that disappeared, and ended
but
up
that
being
was
the
never
first
really
wolf.
part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yes, the buddy, the son of the other guy,
Yes,
which I would argue, I did think there was going to be a second wolf man
Yeah.
coming into play because that kid guy was going to be out there as opposed to like just.
I think he was just ripped up. I don't think he turned into a wolf. I think he just ate him.
You think?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like eviscerated.
Because
I think
I think
didn't
he
they
just
see
found
like
his
his
arm.
arm like over there?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
When she found the gun in the woods at the end.
Yeah. Well, that
So
was, I guess.
super low body count.
I will say on second watch, I liked it a little better than
Okay.
when I watched it the first time.
I was sorry. Go ahead.
I thought there was going to be maybe a twist with the daughter being
That's what I'm
able to
saying.
communicate with him,
Something.
like, restore some of his humanity. Because there
Yeah.
was
Well,
points,
that kind of happened. to
yeah,
a
there were
degree.
there
Yeah, I
was points
mean,
when
with-
he would like start to understand her. You know, like when she was talking and like he could hear her words, but he couldn't hear like Julia Gunner or his wife's words. But then that kind of devolved. I did like that like transition though when they went
Yeah,
back and
that
forth.
was
Yeah.
that was a cool part. That's why
I think
again,
the first time I watched, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of weird. I don't know if I like this." But then the second time, because you realize that it's not necessarily. I mean, it is like a monster movie, but it's also like this guy is like slowly turning into this creature and has no idea what's going on, and
Right.
like is still pretty human within this body for the time being.
Well, I took it
anyway.
as like, yeah, no, he becomes a wolf, and you have
Yeah.
like you could see the different colors because
Right, and
dogs
that
have different
thermal
vision, yeah,
and
more
stuff like that.
That's
Yeah,
what that's what it
absolutely.
was.
the whole point of it, right?
Yeah.
And then
Or
you
the
can't
idea.
understand, you don't
Human speech.
Yeah, you don't understand human speech. So I thought that was a cool twist not twist, but just a cool take on it that I hadn't seen in a movie before.
They said they did
and I
it
expected more
practically.
things like that.
Yeah,
oh,
did
really? There's
That,
practical
the
effects.
transition they did practically with all the lighting.
Yeah,
and
there was-
everything when
That's
it
kind of cool.
switched. Yeah,
That's why it looked cool. Yeah, it didn't look. It looked cool. It looked neat.
Yeah,
So-
I know he said like I think one else said like there was a low amount of CGI for what they were going for, and his motivation was kind of driven out of The Fly.
Oh, I was going to say American Werewolf. And,
And no, I think he
London.
said like they nailed it when they did that. So like
yeah.
He
so
was
he didn't
tr-
want to do a rip off of
correct.
that transformation.
well, that's why the
scene, yeah.
transition is so different. In
right.
This one.
Yeah.
So he said he's like he mentioned that movie specifically like
Yeah.
they crushed it. Like there's no reason to be like I'm going to do that better than them. Like they
See,
did it well.
I like a filmmaker that respects it, has
And
respect
so-
for others and doesn't want to
but
just
he
rip it
liked
off. He
the
takes his own take on
idea.
it.
He liked the idea of it being like an illness where
Yeah.
it was like slowly overtaking him. And I will tell you, I thought I thought it was really suspenseful. Like in the first 30 to 40 minutes of the movie, like I think I was ready to be able to be like kind of on my phone and kind of like watching, and I was like kind of locked in for a long time. There was just enough. I thought everything was kind of working pretty well.
And it was short. It's an hour and a half.
Never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing.
But
90 minutes.
the talking about that illness setting in and like things starting to hit,
Hill's fever or whatever they called it, right?
the spider making noise,
Oh, yeah.
being so loud, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
Like,
I totally forgot. Like that from the first watch.
You
and,
totally
watch it, I
like.
was
there's
"What
something
the fuck's in the
upstairs. You
closet?"
think it's a wolf man inside. Something's in the house. And you get up there and like that's when you realize that he's starting to fully take on some of these like
Canine
wolf
characteristics.
canine.
yeah.
Nailed it there. Great alliteration.
Yeah, didn't stumble at all.
I got that one.
But another comment he had that I thought was pretty awesome, and we've done the movie. So he said that he really thought Julia Garner was like this like emotional compass of the movie, and that she was going to be like the Shelley Duvall of the Shining aspect. And I was like, that's actually a really great analogy for what it was.
I don't know. I don't know if I liked her or not. I couldn't really, and maybe it's just from watching Ozark, and that's the only other thing I've seen her in. I just couldn't
It's
picture
not my fault you didn't
her.
watch The Americans.
Well, I just couldn't picture her as like this guy's wife for some reason. She's always like, she just kind of, she's shorter. She's got like that younger looking face and the haircut. Like,
What do you know Christopher Abbott from? Anybody?
I do know him, but I don't know what it's
Blake.
from.
I only know him from Girls. I don't know if you guys watched Girls.
I
on
did watch
HBO.
Girls.
Yeah,
I don't.
not.
I wouldn't have called that. I was
gonna say like it's funny that
Somewhat
I like that they
surprised.
use like TV stars,
Yeah.
not big stars.
Well, I was somewhat surprised that like he was the lead. I will say that for sure.
yeah.
Man, I would have definitely never got Girls in that one, but I
I
definitely
think I
watched.
looked it up. He's in other stuff too, but that's like
Oh,
the main thing.
I don't
that
doubt that.
recognize him
But
from.
so there's a degree of, I think, Tom, to what you're saying, how to say this delicately without being canceled. So Julia Garner's amazing in Ozark, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Fully awesome. I knew her from The Americans first. Not as big of a role, but first of all, the show's amazing. You should watch it. Everyone should watch it. Fucking awesome. She is not like, I don't think I've ever, even in The Americans, ever seen her as, to your point, like a wife
Right.
type. Like in Ozark, she never crosses
Right.
that line. She really lives in this like lane of being, this strong, independent. I think
Wife, mother, and journalist.
yes, none of those things. She is none of those things. So I think to your point, it's a hard lane to see her in because
Because she played the other one.
she
so
acts
well.
really well. She's a really
yeah.
good actress. She just doesn't fit that like stereotype or
Right.
like archetype. Like,
Well, I think that's like the same thing. Like as Michael Cera got older, he couldn't get any roles as like
normal.
adult characters or
'Cause he
like
just
anything.
feels
Yeah,
like a
because he's
child.
just
He
like
feels
yeah,
like
he's
George
got
Michael
some,
always.
Yeah, he's got some childlike features, I guess, that keep him out of those roles. So,
Her
but yeah,
Bland. I haven't seen. I gotta rewatch the rest.
You got a lot on your agenda.
Yeah, right.
Was Blake wearing his dad's shirt when they went back? Because he had the Marine shirt on when they were in the car. Because I was like, did he go to the army
I
too?
can't imagine.
Yeah, I was just curious if that was like kind of the story that they didn't talk about. Like he went to the military after, being scared to death by his dad and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
But I also laughed that it was like, because they didn't do the CGI or anything, you don't get like the pretty werewolves like you do in like Underworld and Twilight, right?
Beckinsale.
Right.
No, but I'll tell you what they did was a couple things that were fucking gross. And
Oh, God.
that was one,
yeah.
The tooth?
chewing off your own foot is gross.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
also,
he's also still human. He probably could have just pried that he has like human hands, and he was still like
Yeah.
Can't humans pull
Right.
apart a bear trap?
There's
I was
an
going to say,
unlock.
somebody has to
But
set
dogs
it.
can't. So
Right, exactly.
he's
Wolves
more
can't
wolf.
hit the unlock. That was also an episode of It's Always Sunny. Charlie gets caught in a bear trap in the bar, and he can't figure out how to get out. He's just bleeding out on the floor, and then they finally come back from, I think it was the Philadelphia Super Bowl, and they find him, and he's like, "Oh, I couldn't get it unlocked." And you're like, "Charlie, you're a human. Just hit the unlock on the bottom."
So maybe that's what their
But yeah,
was.
I mean, I know
Reason
he's still
for it.
And the
the scratching.
scratching as soon as that came off, and it's
I
like,
had to
oh
go
man,
like this.
dude, that was so raw and gnarly. I was like, good. I didn't dislike this as much as you guys did, which is really amazing.
I wouldn't say
considering-
dislike,
You asked
but
if we hated
compared
it,
to
and I said no.
Whoa. And I didn't accuse you of that. I said,
I thought you hated it.
I didn't dislike this as much as you. I think that's fair.
you don't know
Said
my
hate.
level of dislike.
I thought we were in the nest. Are we not in the nest anymore?
Fuck no, we aren't. You're fucking wrong, bro.
I needed more Benedict Hardy. He's the guy that was in Upgrade and in both of these movies. The one the hitchhiker that or not the hitchhiker.
Yeah,
what,
the guy
the guy
that they
that
picked
other
up.
guys,
yeah.
yeah.
That
Would
died
you have let
too
him in your
soon.
Oh,
car?
that was the guy.
Eric?
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was him.
yeah. He was like the main other
Doesn't have any
upgraded
upgrades
guy
anymore.
in Upgrade.
In Upgrade.
And then,
No. I know. I'm talking in this movie. I didn't realize it was him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say I had a couple problems. One, you jumped onto a fucking tarped greenhouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, where should we go? Oh, let's just climb up
The
this
easiest
tarp.
thing that I could probably cut
That's
with my
like
hand.
opaque, and you could clearly see
You
the
wouldn't have
shadows.
fallen through.
Yeah,
You don't
you
even need werewolf claws to cut that bitch down.
But then they showed like the staples and stuff ripping off, and that didn't really do
Didn't do
anything
anything
because
until-
then he cut it.
Until he
Yeah.
sliced it, and
Yeah.
then she's like, "Here, crawl
I just
across,
wouldn't have
daughter."
thought that any of that pipe would have held them up anyway.
None of it.
I would argue that thing's coming down as soon as all three of them got up
Yes,
there.
Absolutely,
exactly.
yeah.
The
Done.
Why
whole
aren't they
thing.
sitting on the pipes?
Well, they kind of did.
Well,
They
the
kinda
little
did.
girl didn't.
They
I just don't know
tried
how
to.
strong that thing is.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
No.
I don't know.
And the other thing is, I am conditioned to think it. I thought for sure when he killed his dad, he was going to come back. He was going to revert back to like a human form.
Yeah, that would be too.
Yeah, I think that's more on the supernatural side. So I think they're trying.
Sorry,
to,
I had an opinion.
You know,
It's just the wrong opinion. It's okay.
Yeah.
get your horror
How
mythology
can an
correct.
opinion
No,
be wrong?
I'm not gonna lie. I had that same thought. I'm like, are they going to do it? I wouldn't have liked it if they did it that way.
Right,
So
I
I'm
feel
glad
like
they didn't. But
if this was
but I had
made in the
thought.
80s,
I'm
they
not
would
saying
have
I was
done it.
rooting for it. I just thought it was going to happen.
I did
Yeah.
too.
They cut to the. I thought the cut the tattoo was a better way to play it.
Yeah.
But that is what I thought was going down.
But now he had to go out and be the mystery noise in the forest.
Yeah.
Like that's his legacy now.
Yeah.
Until they shot him. in the
What I
chest.
want to know is how did everyone survive so long? Like all of a sudden, that guy's out there hunting.
They must
I guess
have an
'cause-
electric fence. They must keep him contained.
Well, I guess.
Well, how many
I guess
people
his
live on
point
that
was-
mountain?
Well, his
I
point
mean,
was
it's very remote.
that they're never out past dark,
Right.
and then they were out a little later than they should have been because he was showing them where
Well,
they
you,
live.
I
And
took
guess that's how
the
they
whole
explained it,
like
but
the dad essentially like
protected
it's
his
still
area.
his house.
Yeah,
Like,
you think he goes home?
well, I think whether he's in or not living a life, right? Like, but that's what he knows. Like, I don't think that part probably went away, right? Like, Bruce knows he lives here. You know, this is the spot.
and the werewolves don't turn back when the full moon goes away, right?
Right. They're
Right.
just
You're
always
a
wolves.
werewolf.
Always wolf.
Yeah.
Wolf,
yeah, and
man.
in this world, and you don't need silver bullets.
Do we
Yeah,
have
no,
a
you just
theory?
need to-
Just regular old
Come on.
buckshot.
Yep.
So, like, the
the
movie
chest.
ends, right?
I think it was just a 22.
If OG Dad just shoots the one on the ladder of the blind when they're inside, right? It's over.
Yep.
Yeah,
no more
probably.
wolf.
Had he just shot through the
Right.
door,
Logical
Which I
play.
would've
You
done.
saw breath.
even if it's
Yeah.
a bear,
Also,
kill the
that
bear.
breath on
Yeah,
the
it's
backside
something that
was
wants to eat you.
dope.
Yeah, it's good.
We'll revisit that. But anyway, for a movie that you guys didn't like, I thought we talked about it a lot.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was passable. I think I had
Didn't
much
like it
higher
compared to the
expectations.
other one.
I heard you hated it.
Because
To go back to the tape.
I think I love The Invisible Man. I think it's really good.
It was just
I want to
that-
watch it again.
Yeah, the second watch was even better just
Yeah, I
because,
bet.
like, there's literally the fear of the unknown. You don't know where the guy is in any of the scenes, if he's even there, but your mind is just going like, oh, yeah, he's in that corner. He's got to be. Then
I like
her,
that's great.
Her, like, not demise, but, like, slowly...
Descent into
Yeah,
madness.
kind of going crazy, and everybody else thinking she's crazy, and like or you assume she's not crazy. But yeah, I thought it was just, I liked it a lot.
Is there how high of a level can we put Elizabeth Moss on? Like
You mean like
in general.
acting ability?
in general, yeah.
Yeah, I think she did
Oh,
really
yes.
well in this. She was perfect.
This, but I'm going broad scope too.
You're
Like,
going back to West Wing days of
dude. We got Zoe for
Zoe.
sure. West Wing. We got Mad Men. We got.
Yeah.
I don't even watch Handmaid's Tale, but
Neither
I've
do
heard
I.
nothing but great things about it.
read the book, of course.
Avi.
How was she in the book? Was she good in the book?
But like she's awesome, and I saw comments again from Lee Wanell. Like this whole movie lives. Like she makes this movie,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Like, and there's no doubt, there's no way around that. Like she's awesome in this movie, and
But it's a good script, so I think that's why she picked it, because she clearly can. She could probably pick, pick,
I
be
remember
choosy.
when this came out, I was like, "Why is she doing a?"
That's
horror
what I
movie?
thought too.
Like it's like there's a sorry Tom, there's a judgment to like people that do horror movies. It's like you're almost like you're at the end of your run, like
Or
type
the
of thing.
very, very beginning of your
Or
career.
the beginning,
Fair.
you're
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah,
Fair, but
absolutely
you're
right. And I
definitely not
thought
at
that
your
too.
peak.
And
You're
I've
not coming
never-
off Mad Men, and you're
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm gonna do is a horror movie.
And I've never been a huge fan of the Invisible Man situation, like
Yeah.
Hollow Man, or any of the movies. I don't
Dark
know.
Man? No?
Yeah, Dark Man.
Darkman wasn't really Invisible Man.
wasn't really invisible, but it was.
Yeah, are those in the same ether or what?
No, Dark Man was.
Hollow
Yeah,
Man,
he's
Kevin
just wearing
Bacon.
bandages.
Sam Raimi.
Kevin Bacon.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's
Elizabeth
what I'm saying.
Shue?
Hollow Man.
Was that the same thing?
Same
think so.
idea. So what I think it was cool about the way that they did this is typically in the story and the mythology of the Invisible Man, whoever becomes invisible is the one who goes crazy.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
For whatever chemical, that's why like Kevin Bacon started going crazy and things like
I'm
that.
gonna let you know that I don't remember a lot about that movie.
Okay.
I saw it.
I do remember that.
Right.
Yes, he starts to go a
So
little
he
nuts
goes
with
crazy.
the power.
Yeah, exactly. With the power and
Oh,
stuff.
power crazy.
Yeah,
Yes.
a little
Power
bit.
crazy, but then he
But
also
just-
just becomes psychotic.
Yeah.
Right? And in this, they made her be the one that looks like she's going crazy because she's
Perception,
so stressed
yeah.
out.
Which is a
Perception,
very cool thing to do.
which was a very good twist. So I did write down, is invisibility ever used for good?
I have no examples.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who can turn invisible.
Harry Potter, the cloak of
Oh,
invisibility.
yes.
But they used it for mischief and like sneaking through the.
Yeah, but it
you're
also
gonna
No, that
probably
was the
led to
Marauders map that
Voldemort's-
was used for mischief.
You're gonna drop mischief on us?
criminal mischief.
the
just
cloak
a
of
misdemeanor.
invisibility, but it was also given back at the end. So they were good.
There may
also
be
a
a
kid's
couple
story.
that have existed.
But I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
And then, like, as we mentioned, Jen and I were watching it, and she got about 35 minutes in, and she's like, I can't do this because the uncertainty,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't the gore. It wasn't like it was just the uncertainty of not knowing if he was there, or if he wasn't. And then you're just like, she's like, nope.
I wouldn't
gotta,
even
like-
have
And
thought
those
to ask
paranormal activity type scenes where it's like she steps away from the kitchen and it's
You
just
see a
like
little blur.
and then
the knife
the
moves,
fire
the
starts.
fire
Yeah.
starts.
Yeah.
the knife move.
Or
Yeah.
even
it was
like
great.
the way Lee Wanell shoots some of the scenes, like in the house, like the camera's on her,
Yeah.
and then it just like slowly
Yep.
moves over and
Yeah.
looks at the empty kitchen.
So
and,
you have
like,
to think,
there's nothing.
where could he be?
And like, yeah, is he there? Is he not?
That's what
When
I'm
she
saying.
gets-
and
It
then I
was-
think that's
it
when the
was-
fire went off in that scene. But
Yeah.
then it slowly goes back, and she's at the end.
When
of the
she
hall or
checked
something,
into
but-
the hospital, right, and the guard like leaves, and they like pan to the door, but then they also look over at the shower, and you're
Yeah.
just like, is he sitting there?
Right.
Is he? And like, well, if he's sitting there, why is he? How is he going to get out? I'm like, oh, he probably just waits until they come
Right,
back and
yeah.
open the door again.
But what if he's got to take a leak?
There are some
Like, how does
there
that
are
work?
some flaws to the whole grand concept. However,
Does he just unzip the back of the suit? And
Just
like-
goes in the suit.
the idea is, I agree. Like you are consistently as a viewer caught up in essentially trying to find someone who is literally invisible.
Yes.
And so there's no way you can ever know the answer to it outside of like the glitch or yes, an item moving.
breath.
Yeah.
The breath,
or if
we
he
circle
appears a
back-
little further in the scene and there's no like
Right, but circling back to
leaving
the
a
breath,
room.
which we saw again, he brought it back in Wolfman, but like that second breath was like, holy shit! Like that, just like I would argue like it's not a jump scare, but it was like
Oh,
it was
But it
like
was a thrill.
It was a
thrilling
very
moment,
much
yeah.
a thrilling moment.
The paint in the attic.
Oh, yeah.
that was
Great.
scare.
she kicks
That
it
was
down the
great,
stairs.
I saw that. I remember seeing that in the preview.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah.
I don't
Oh.
remember this preview at all.
That fight scene in the kitchen was
Yeah.
amazing.
That was
She's just fighting her.
So that's
like
my other
nothing. I
question.
think that was practical too.
when you become invisible. Do you get additional strength?
That's what I was saying. It's
Because
the
he
suit,
is the suit
he's, like,
powered? Because he
whipping
like
her around.
lifted her up and like threw her across the kitchen, and
Yeah.
I was like,
He seemed like a well-built man.
Oh, then what? Her
He's not as jacked up
or
as
whatever.
He's not as
like-
jacked up as Aldous Hodge.
Yeah.
no.
Holy balls!
That's what I was going to say too. Was he always that jacked up?
No, he was not. Jelani, what was our show from TNT?
Leverage.
Dude, Aldous Hodge was the skinny guy on Leverage.
He was a skinny
And
guy,
he was
but
in Straight Outta Compton
He
not
was.
too many
Straight
years
Outta
ago, and
Compton.
he wasn't. I feel like he was
Dude,
skinny.
no.
then,
This
too.
is like,
he was in Friday Night Lights though,
dude.
as Voodoo Taylor.
Okay,
Oh,
nothing.
yes.
This is like Jack. His tries are out of control.
That's what it was. It was his tries for sure. I knew we were
mass
going to comment
alone.
on
So this
it.
is 2020. I'm gonna assume that. Well, it could have been later because Cross just came out on.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
But he's huge in that.
Yeah, he'd have to be. Where would it go?
But yeah, I thought it was interesting again because it's him, it's Elizabeth Moss, and Storm Reed are like the only known people in this whole thing.
Is Storm Reed? No.
I was gonna say just barely, right? Like,
She was in
she was in a couple scenes
Wrinkle
of
in
last
Time?
Wrinkle
Time,
in
yeah.
Time. Yeah,
read the book.
She also
One of my
in.
favorites.
No, that's it. She's apparently in Euphoria, which I don't watch, but
yeah.
because I have kids and don't want to hate myself.
So I
That's good. Good call.
I told Jen, I'm like, do you think it would be better if he had like the Predator shimmer, and you could at least like see the shimmer?
There
She's
had-
like,
They did a little bit of that.
So that was that was the glitch I was referencing. Like,
yeah,
so that's
kind of was that when he got
only
stabbed.
good for the audience.
Yes.
Like it, and I would argue not having that is so much better.
makes
Yeah,
it
it's
yes.
better, yeah.
I agree too.
So I'm sure there are people who'd be like, I just want to know where your wife. You're saying like that was too much for her. Like that's part of what makes this, I
Yeah.
think, universally this movie being really well
Yes.
liked and received.
Yeah, I mean, there would be in real life if he just had a suit with a bunch of cameras on it that were projecting what he saw around it. You'd see something. I mean, it's not
Right.
going to be
The,
100%
the
invisible.
noise
but,
was
yeah.
a whole thing. Like
Yeah,
so,
the-
you kind of knew it. That's when you knew for sure he was in the room. And I think other times, I would argue they maybe deliberately didn't have the noise happening where you felt like for sure he's there somewhere.
Well, yeah,
and
it
so
was
it's like,
very
well,
faint.
but it's like
Little clicking.
maybe I think they didn't. If you were to live on the idea that the noise, if you're standing, any movement, those
Right.
cameras should be moving, which
Right.
means that noise should be happening.
Right.
There were plenty of times where nothing was happening,
Yeah.
while it should have been if you were being literal to the whole idea.
Yeah.
So I still think he was in the room, but you weren't getting the
Yeah,
audio
you still
aspect.
Here,
Right. It makes it
part
more
of
tense if
Right.
you're not hearing
If
that
you just
coming through.
consistently were hearing that nonstop,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, he's here. But now it was more like, holy fuck, is he
Yeah.
here?
I also liked that, after you have the climactic fight scene in Aldous' house, that everybody's like, "Oh, it's over, it's over,"
Right.
and she's like, "No, it's not over because there's a reason I left in the first place. Like, it wasn't. I didn't just leave and then thought all this crazy stuff. Like, I did want to be
Right,
with
it's
him. He
not
was
Tom.
controlling. Like, I left because I needed to get away from him to begin with. Not that he became invisible.
I have a problem with right out of the gate.
Yeah.
One, I do love that they went straight into like escape. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, holy
Yeah,
shit!
they didn't
that
waste any
opening
time.
scene?
It was
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
good from
With-
beginning to end.
Yeah, nothing,
Because
no
you talk about
explanation,
with
nothing.
no real knowledge going in. I'm like immediately kind of captivated.
Right.
However, I do have a problem with her sister showing up at 3 a.m. to pick her up in like an alley and being like, "What are
What's
we
going
doing?"
on?
Why should I? Where should I go? Should I drive now? Yeah, fucking go.
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, this is that part." I had a fundamental flaw with.
My
Fucking sister sucked.
She
Was
she
there
got
a-
what was coming to her.
oh.
That was
that
a
scene.
hell of a scene.
Yeah, I had totally forgot about that.
I don't know how he got the
Yeah,
How'd he
knife
go
in her
over so
hand,
quick?
right?
no, the return to her hand was the part
Because he would have to lift her hand up and then put the knife in, right?
whatever. We can all
And she just has to
Superhuman suit
stand
power.
there.
we can gloss
Right.
it
Yeah,
because
super-
it's awesome.
Okay, It was
Yeah.
so well done.
But
that
it,
was fun.
that if you want to get technical,
Yeah.
that's probably less realistic. Like the boom, 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 and it's like
Plus the way that the knife was cutting, like he would have had to been on the right side.
classic technicality.
And then you got to switch over to the
No,
left.
he was
No,
leaning over
yeah,
the
what if
table.
he
yeah.
swiped
Did
like
it like
that,
this,
But the
and then
hand-
grabbed a
held her hand
hand.
and put it in here.
But didn't the handle go from left to right?
this needs to be a
From the
visual
outside-
medium
was it the
of a
outside of the
podcast.
tape? Oh. wasn't
Li-
it? I don't know.
Listeners,
Like
if you
came
would,
over this side and then came that way.
But it
listeners,
works.
if you would prefer us
Back
to have some
and to the left.
if you would prefer us to have some TikTok highlights, let us know. We'll get Tom to set us up with
Yeah.
some. The
Yeah, I
V
mean, there
in the
weren't-
AV Club.
There weren't
That
any
one might
huge
get
flaws.
No, I don't
censored on
think.
TikTok if I put that scene on there.
Just clips.
The other
blur it.
question we had was there a third sister?
What do you mean?
I
sister?
think she has passed away. 'Cause-
Right.
Yeah, because that email that he sent the other sister while Elizabeth Moss was asleep
Yeah.
said, like, I wish you had been the one that
Oh, right,
died.
right.
So
Right.
I don't think I picked up on that at all.
Because
Yeah.
So I tried to figure out
So
because Jen
Aldous'
and I were
wife
exactly
was the other
We were
sister.
trying to figure out how does she know Aldous and the daughter, and it was like, oh yeah, your sister. But then the one sister shows up and she's like, yeah, thanks for coming by. He knows where you live, and it's
Yeah.
like, wait, you're not the
that's
sister
interesting.
that lives
I
here.
never picked up on.
So
I,
wait,
yeah.
is that her niece then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, but they didn't say that, right?
Right.
They never call her aunt.
No,
I don't think so.
they just call her C.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what I
Which
figured was there's three sisters.
I saw.
and then-
Well, no,
I like it. That makes
clever. See,
got it. I
'Cause
see
she
where you go.
sees.
you see what I'm
I
doing
didn't.
there?
I didn't even put that together.
Me neither. Admittedly, me neither. I will say, you guys, we talked about this being the connection to the whole universe and older movies. Again, not well versed in these from a long time ago, but
You didn't read the book,
the
H.G. Wells.
Ralph Ellison.
what I didn't know, I picked up on it in the movie because they clearly made a point about it, was when she's in the hospital and the patient gets wheeled out on a stretcher, all completely bandaged up from the eyes, is a reference to the 1933 Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Which again, I watched that and I was like, I don't really understand. I'm like, is that somebody I'm supposed to know? Like, I definitely was out of my loop.
Claude Rains, I believe.
Is it?
I think it is.
I'm not doubting you.
But
Don't know.
it's
He
funny.
was in Casablanca.
Kevin Bacon.
Oh,
Growing up, I asked my mom, I'm like, hey, can you get me The Invisible Man? And she's like, the Ralph Ellison book? And I'm like, no, I don't think that's the same one. And then I was like, oh, no, it's H.G. Wells. Like, that's the one I wanted.
but the second reference to that was when
You're right. It was Claude Rains.
C and her niece are, we're going to call her niece from here on out, are in bed, and she looks up and sees the hat and coat on top of the
mannequin or the
not mannequin,
dressing.
but yeah, on the stand.
yeah.
And that
Designer
also
bust
is a
or
reference
whatever.
to the OG Invisible Man, which I think everyone picked up on, but I didn't know what the reference actually was. So I just thought those were good job. Again, we've commented on 1L being pretty awesome at this, and it's hard to argue with him. He nailed both of these
Yeah.
movies, in my opinion.
Oh, both. Okay.
I think
You're putting them on both on the same level?
no,
No.
But-
One's, yeah. Okay.
he did a great job.
nailed it.
I think he did a great job on both movies. I think Wolfman is better than what you guys, the haters,
Yeah.
think. But
Would you say that The Invisible Man had a happy ending?
I mean, it's hard to call it super happy, but it was. It was
She's
just a
happy.
good. It was just the right ending.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what.
was there a massage parlor?
I was thinking more of the Shakespearean idea of a
all right.
comedy.
Was it a comedy or a tragedy?
Heard. Sorry. Back on track.
Just because, she walks out and
Yep.
has the suit and is like,
I had the same thought. Sorry, Tom.
No, go for it.
I had the same thought that I saw called out. And I'm going to tie this into two things. One, I love that in her escape in the beginning, you see her hesitate and look at this blank stand where there are a bunch of armor suits. And
Yeah,
you see the stand
yeah.
with nothing there.
Right.
And you see her hesitate
Wasn't
for a
sure
second.
what that was either.
And you realize later that it all ties in.
Right.
But secondly, though, that she leaves with this full body suit that fits a man and her somehow perfectly, but it's folded up in a nice little grocery bag, and that's totally normal. But
It's like Iron Man suit. It
Yeah.
goes down into
He
a
has it
suitcase
in a watch.
or
It
in a
just
watch or in a
nanotech.
chest.
out.
Yeah, it's nanotech.
totally,
No, I mean it was kind of same to the same point. Both movies essentially begin and end in the exact same locations with very similar things. Like
Oregon?
The woods.
You're saying in the treehouse and in
So
his
in the
house.
treehouse, and then the movie kind of ends in the treehouse with
Yeah.
the same scene, and then her leaving the house at the beginning, escaping, and then at the end leaving the house after she's killed him.
Does The Conjuring take place in San Francisco or on the West Coast?
Don't
I
think
can't remember.
so because it's based off of
No, it's
true,
New
true
England,
story.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's
I
East
think
Coast.
it's more East Coast.
Because both of these have a reference to San Francisco,
yeah.
right? The beginning, they're in San Francisco in Wolfman. That's where
Yeah.
they work.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
they're cops, and they live in San Francisco in Invisible Man,
Oh,
too. So
I
I was
wonder
yeah,
if
that's
that's
the ties.
is that how the
I think-
original were they all centered in the same area?
No, I was wondering about
Rhode
Upgrade.
Island for The Conjuring.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering about Upgrade, too. I was wondering if that takes place in, like, the West Coast.
That's the future.
Well, you can
It takes
still have
place
it
in
placed
the future.
in the West Coast, though. So
How the U.S. is going to
There
exist
won't
in the
even be
future?
a West Coast.
Be Canada.
But overall, so I thought The Invisible Man, again, probably never would have watched this movie. Realistically, not something I would go out. Again, I thought it was pretty horror. Was convinced at work that it's much more thriller, and I would
Yes.
agree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would agree, honestly, even though my wife probably would disagree, that like The Wolfman also probably lives more on the thriller aspect
sure.
as opposed to
It just had
horror.
a lot more gore.
Yeah. There's
Right.
A couple
There's
scenes.
a couple scenes, but like if we're being honest about it, I think both of them live more on the thriller side. And what we alluded to earlier, The Mummy, I think if it lives in that more of that world than
Yeah.
an action or any
Yep.
other approach, I think is very doable. And I hope if they do that, that's what they do.
Right, and if Lee does it, like I hope. What I like about these movies again is like the psychological aspect of it. Like you're talking about narcissism in The Invisible Man, and how that plays into it, and like whether you're being gaslit or not by people, and there's all that whole element to it. And in The Wolfman, it's past trauma and family trauma and things that I don't know if there's allegories for other things about their relationship or something like that, but it's definitely like a parental thing.
There's an
So they have
abusive-
themes. They're trying to make more emotional and psychological.
There's an
themes
abusive
in it.
relationship on both of those movies for
Right.
sure, right? Like father-son and Wolfman and spousal.
I think that that always elevates horror movies. It's why I've told you guys many times. I think when Redding's on, it's why I like what's his name, Mike, the one that does House on Haunted Hill, and I forget his name. Mike Flanagan.
Oh yeah.
Mike
it is.
Flanagan
That's
stuff.
the
Yeah,
guy?
yeah, there. My favorite guy that I can't remember his name.
Sorry,
That's
my
why I like-
mind went to the House on Haunted Hill movie, and I was like, from 1998. Like I don't.
But it's why I like his stuff because there always seems to be like that whole, is it happening or is it just in your mind element? And that's what you were alluding to, Jelani, about Elizabeth Moss. Like it feels like she's going crazy, like, but you know it's actually happening to her, but everyone else thinks she's just going nuts.
Yeah, I mean, if your sister-in-law is, claiming that this guy who was clearly dead and, is stalking her as an invisible guy, like,
Right.
you're gonna think they're crazy.
Yeah.
No sane
And
person
she
is gonna
knows she
think.
sounds crazy, but she
Right.
also knows she's right. So
Right.
how do you convince somebody you're right when
You cut your wrist with a ballpoint or with a
fountain pen.
fountain pen.
I feel like she would have had to get that looked at pretty
There
soon
you
after
are.
that.
But
or
she was
put
wrapped
that
up.
out. Yeah, she just all of a sudden got wrapped up. But
Quick ace
No, but that's
bandage.
true. As she was running, I thought that too.
Yeah,
I'm
I was like,
where's
she's gonna bleed
you'd be-
out.
You would be bleeding pretty hard.
Maybe that was the point, is that you couldn't do too much damage with the fountain pen.
Maybe.
Would be my guess.
Yeah.
If you want to explain away.
yeah, and then the cops figured out real quick that she wasn't lying. And the cops and the
Yeah, but all of the
security
ones that
guards
found
and the
out were
nurses-
dead.
Right,
So
exactly.
it's
There's
like,
still nobody to
she's
prove
still
it.
crazy. Because there's a camera and you're watching people drop.
Right,
But,
and that again, that scene goes back to like that superhero aspect of that suit. Like, there's like 9 security guards and cops in that hallway, and like, I understand it's hard to fight something you can't see,
Right.
now,
but
well,
like,
here's the thing.
you
like,
break one of the lenses on those cameras, and then you should just be able to see a broken
stab
lens. You know,
stabbed. Yeah, it kept
Yeah.
deforming.
I said she should have taken the tasers. Because the
Oh,
tasers
yeah.
would have shorted out the cameras.
yeah.
Can't believe she didn't think of that.
She's out there trying to grab the gun instead of just tase the man. Shock the shit out
Don't
of him.
tase me, bro.
They were good. I enjoyed these this pairing for sure.
Yeah, I liked, like I said, I liked the Wolfman more on the second watch than the first watch, but I still like Invisible Man more.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to the Mummy.
Yeah, I looked up to see if there were any other ones coming out.
The
and
Creature
I don't think.
and
Creature from the
Frankenstein.
Black Lagoon.
Frankenstein's monster.
If you had a
Frankenstein's
preference
monster.
for
Don't be that guy, Jelani.
I think there is a
Technically,
new
it's Frankenstein's monster.
Frankenstein movie coming out.
if Lee was doing another movie, what would you want it to be?
I think the Creature from the Black Lagoon would be interesting.
Yeah, because it just hasn't been done. So
He's
I
got
think-
'cause
he's got
everything else
nothing
is like-
upcoming currently.
yeah,
Should we send him a spec script? Put it together.
Nah, we trust him.
because I mean, well, maybe the Mummy also, but Dracula.
I just think
Dracula
it's
and
been
mummies
done.
have been done, a million
Oh, I'm
times.
sorry. He's got Upgrade,
Upgrade 2.
but it's not called Upgrade 2.
Oh, it's a TV series.
And the Green Hornet and Kato in development.
They tried that once with
Seth
Seth
Rogen.
Rogen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't work so well.
I don't.
And, was
Well,
it Jet
we-
Li that played?
That's
Kato?
he's like, dude, I'm getting
No,
paid.
I don't
all
think
right,
it's Jet Li.
but this
It's,
is where you lose
Oh,
him. You lose him on
some-
the run of these.
it's a lesser known.
Oh wait, no. Oh yeah.
Are
Are these both Blumhouse, too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the budgets weren't huge, but they probably made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, my Upgrade TV series. Maybe that'll be
We'll see.
up your alley.
Ew.
As always, this is what we're talking about. You're not hearing us. You're off in your own goddamn world somewhere. This place is beautiful. It's also dangerous. You can subscribe if you know exactly what to do. Thanks, and go to